The iPhone 16 lineup is expected to come in September. So obviously we're quite a few months away from that, but it's never too early to talk about some of the leaks and rumors, and there have been quite a lot of them. And so there are new features coming specifically with the 16 Pro and Pro Max that could be eye-catching for you. And if you're thinking about upgrading your phone in 2024, watch this video first and maybe see if it's worth waiting for that new 16 Pro or Pro Max. And so we'll start with the displays because we're actually expecting bigger iPhones, which means bigger displays. And so with the Pro and the Pro Max, we're expecting a jump from 6.1 inches to 6.3 inches and 6.7 inches to 6.9 inches respectively. And so that's for the Pro and the Pro Max. And that's going to expand the width a little bit and even the height of these phones. So it's not just sleeker bezels, which we are expecting, but it's also just an overall larger form factor. And so depending on who you are, if you're somebody who likes bigger phones, this could be great news for you. If you're someone who thinks that we're at a sweet spot right now, then this might be a little bit of a bummer. But personally, I'm kind of like, I love the Pro Max. I never use anything else, but I also love the smaller phones. So I'm like really torn, and this does not help me. But maybe the Pro might be that sweet spot going up to 6.3 inches, and that I'll ditch the Pro Max. But it's usually not just always about the size, the physical form factor, and the display. It's also about the battery and the cameras. And so if Apple did what it kind of did a little bit a couple years ago, where it made both the Pro and the Pro Max basically the same with features, then I wouldn't really care. But this year we're expecting some better features for the Pro Max, just like last year. And so, yeah, I'm probably going to have to go with the Pro Max. But definitely want to hear from you in the comments down below what you think of this larger jump. And of course, anything that we talk about, let me know down in those comments. Let's have a conversation about it. In terms of chips and thermals and connectivity, we're also expecting obviously improvements there. Every year we get improvements with the chip. So this year we're looking at the A18 Pro chip, still based off of that 3nm process, but it's a more enhanced process than last year's. New thermal design with a graphene heatsink and metal battery casing. We'll talk about more with the battery in a little bit. There is kind of a new layout for that battery, but also Snapdragon X75 5G modem and Wi-Fi 7 connectivity over the 6E that we got last year. So I'm not sure if this is going to be a huge increase in performance across just the chip and the connectivity, but we're always expecting improvements, and Apple usually delivers year in and year out with that. So, you know, not sure if those are going to be super noticeable improvements or what, but we'll find out later on in the year. So going back to the batteries, like we talked about, last year we had, you know, kind of what we have always had, single layer battery technology, that black battery that you're used to seeing. This year, it looks like we're going with an experimentation of a stacked battery technology for increased energy density and prolonged lifespan, which should also lead to denser batteries and faster charging capabilities. And so I'm not sure if the actual battery life will have huge improvements. Right now, we're kind of looking at a 5% increase. Last year, we had a 4,422 milliamp hour battery. This year, we're looking at 4,676. So that's not a huge amount on paper, but hopefully with iOS 18 and everything, we should have some more battery improvements just based off software and just kind of the thermal efficiencies as well. You can expect up to 40-watt wired charging, which is up from 27 watts from last year. And last year, we also had 15-watt MagSafe charging. This year, we're looking at 20 watts, which is a pretty decent increase and should help overall with the charging speeds via wireless charging. Of course, the biggest improvements we should see from last year's 15 Pro and Pro Max to this year's 16 Pro and Pro Max will come with the cameras. One of the biggest changes is actually an addition of a button, a capture button. And so we're kind of expecting it to be for, obviously, capture implies triggering photography and videography, but this could expand, and we don't know for sure, but this could expand into customization options when in different parts of the camera UI, which would be really cool. Maybe long presses would do different things, or double taps compared to a single tap on that capture button. I think the possibilities are endless, but the best thing about it is that it'll open up the action button to not be taken up. Like me, I use it to launch into the camera app. That'll open up another avenue to use it for something else. And hopefully the capture button, it only makes sense that you can use it to launch into the camera app. And then of course, when you turn it horizontal, you can use it to capture, or if it's still on that right side, perfect spot for your thumb, go ahead and hit the capture button and take the photos and videos that you need. So super intrigued by the capture button. Obviously, I want to hear from you in the comments about that. So this year we're getting more telephoto camera improvements. Obviously, we're going to get that folded tetraprism design. With the Pro models for the 16 Pro, you're going to get that 120 millimeter focal length that you didn't get on the standard Pros. You got it on the Pro Max last year, so that's going to trickle down. But that means the 16 Pro Max is now going from a 120 millimeter focal length to a super telephoto lens, which would bring it up to 300 millimeters. And that might be now getting on the range of a little bit too much for me. So I don't know what we're going to do there. Hopefully the digital focal lengths that you get are good, or optical quality. I know that Apple says that's what you get now, but I often find that it's just still not as good as an actual optical lens for those focal lengths. And so curious to see how that works. But yeah, you're going to be getting way more zoom at better optical quality. And of course, we're still looking at 0.5x, 1x, 2x, and 5x for the optical zoom. And so that 2x to 5x, that digital quality there, hopefully that's really good, because going to 5x optical at 300 millimeters just seems like a lot for me. Also, with the ultra wide, we're expecting a 48 megapixel ultra wide camera. That's obviously up a lot from the 12 megapixel. So this year we'll have two lenses at 48 megapixel. You have the main sensor and the ultra wide sensor, and that's going to be interesting. Hopefully it makes the macro lens a lot better. And I rarely ever use macro mode or just the standard ultra wide. So it's just not as good as a camera as the others. And so this should help improve that. And so those are the main hardware changes and features. But of course, this year we're also with iOS 18 expecting a lot of new AI features. And we don't have a full comprehensive list of the AI specific features for the iPhone 16 and 16 Pro Max. But you can certainly expect specific features because it's going to work off of the enhanced chips. Will we get, a Siri chatbot? Will that be available for everyone, or is that going to be more of an iPhone 16? Who knows? But I would love to hear from you in the comments down below what you think of the iPhone 16 Pro and Pro Max specifically, and the way it's shaping up to be a pretty big upgrade in terms of the hardware specific features. Of course, they're getting that new capture button and some pretty big changes to the telephoto lens and the camera system in general. But I would love to hear from you in the comments down below what you think so far. This has been Dan with MacRumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you around in the next video.